Hi everyone, Letty here, Party Planner Papery. I have a hashtag Paper Stash Smash 6x6 Mega Pad Smash. It's the Echo Park Winnie the Pooh. We're going to do a quick craft with me and I'll give you some freebies.
Welcome back, everyone. So I have another collection that I want to try to smash through. So this one is the Winnie the Pooh Christmas. And for our hashtag Paper Stash Smash for the month of November, which is when I'm starting this, I don't know when you'll see this, but that's when I'm starting this. Our prompt for this month is 6x6. And so I definitely want to try to smash through this mega pad. It's 48 sheets. It is double-sided. I'm going to do a full flip through in just a second. I want to try to smash through this. So I wanted to just record a quick intro where I share what I have in the collection, what I've picked up, and then do a flip through of this paper pad. And then the next thing you'll see in this video is either a tutorial or it'll actually be like a project share. Okay. So in addition to this 6x6, I did pick up a few stamps. I've got 3 of these stamp sets that I had picked up from Echo Park. They were dirt cheap. I paid less than $5 for each one. And I think one of them even came with a die for the same, like, less than $5. So I think that is just fantastic. And then I also did pick up it was from an Echo Park warehouse sale. I picked up 2 extra sticker sheets because I figured I would need some extra images and stuff for the mega pad. So I did pick up 2 of these, and these are just stunning. Like so fun. This is so nostalgic. I feel like everybody has a little bit of, you know, at some point in their childhood or something had Winnie the Pooh. So this is just super gorgeous. I have 2 of those sheets. And then I do also have one of the 12x12. So I'm not going to do a full flip through of the 12x12 just yet because I figured that I'm going to start with the 6x6 mega pad anyway. And I might end up waiting until December to kind of finish out the pack. If you saw there, it has the sticker sheet just like this. So technically I have 3 sticker sheets, 12 sheets of 12x12 paper, including some big cut aparts. And then I have the mega pad and I have 3 stamps and a die. So let me show you what comes in this paper pack or this paper pad. It's a 6x6 mega double-sided by Echo Park. So you've got 2 sheets. You do have your sentiment strips. The megas also come with some solids. So we've got some solids back in front. We've got some really cute patterns. And then of course you do get some full-size cut aparts and smaller ones. And then solids, super fun. You got some 2x2s. And then just really fun prints, more cut aparts. And then you do also get, if you saw those, 3x3s. These are just absolutely stunning. And then it repeats, and it repeats, I believe, 3 times. Okay, so then on the backs, we have a print solids. So that's pretty neat. Really cute. Some more solids. And then again, just a lot of really fun patterns on those. And it will repeat 3 times. So we got 48 sheets. Total double-sided. Again, this is the Winnie the Pooh collection. So again, the next video that you see, or the next part of this video, will be either a tutorial or we're going to do a full project share of whatever I made hopefully in November. I'm going to try to finish up this pad at least in November, and then my goal is to finish out this one in December. But let's see what I make. Okay, so I have taken out all the papers, and this is the cover. You can see it's completely empty. What I decided to do was I had recently done some custom card kits for somebody, and I did a video. I'll show a little picture here. I had done a video where I show what the card kits look like. So I created some little sketches that I put inside of the actual card kits. And so what I wanted to do today was I am going to go ahead and take all 4 of those card sketches and I'm going to recreate them with this collection. I think this paper is so cute, and I think it makes those cards look really super cute too. So I have, technically there's 4 card sketches, but there's going to be 2 different designs on one of them where I show you how you can use the original paper mats, and then one where I'm using scraps. So they're like strips that I'm putting together to still make the same card. So I thought I would go ahead and bring you along, and we would assemble all 5 of the different cards, and then we'll do a full final recap at the very end. And I will do you a little sneak peek right here of what I have right now remaining. So I've already also cut up all of the 2x2s. I am using holographic cardstock for these projects today. So this is the Recollections brand from Michaels. And so you can pick that up. I had purchased it online and I bought it in bulk and it was way cheaper, but I've already prepped these. I think I'm going to make tags out of these later. these are the scraps that I have so far after cutting down all 5 of my card sketches, and I made multiples of each one. Some of them I had like 6 of each, and then some I had a little more. So it just depends. But I do have quite a bit of scraps left. I have only just a couple of larger pieces though, so I'm probably going to make some scrap cards, but I'm going to do that at the very end, right before my final recap. And then I did cut up the sentiment sheets. You saw that the paper pad had 3 of those sentiment sheets. I did cut them up. I have not used any of them yet. If I don't get a chance to use them, I'll toss them in with the big paper pack collection, because right now my focus is to really smash the small 6x6. So let's go ahead and let me show you the card sketches. So let's see here. I kind of want to have this so you can kind of see what we're using today. But so the very first sketch that I have is a super easy one. So I've got everything that we'll need right here. Let me show you what my cards look like right now. So I did add doodle lines. And one thing that was different from my sketch to this one is that I added a little scrap strip right here at the bottom. But I felt like it still, you know, worked, and it helped kind of hone in on a lot of this white kind of space back here, because my paper mats were white, like the pattern paper was white, and then I used white card bases. So I thought that that kind of helped broke it up by doing the doodle line and by adding that little extra scrap of color down at the bottom. I have not decorated any of the insides yet. What I want to do is get through this, make all the rest of my cards, which we're going to do the last 5 right now on camera. And then I'm probably going to try to make some scrap cards. I'm going to finish up my tags, and then I'm going to take the sticker sheet and add stickers to everything. So, and then I'll do a full final recap at the very end of the video. But through the magic of technology, you'll just see the final products here in a second. But these are what the cards look like. It's basically an A2 size mat and a 3x4 cut apart, and then I did layer it with a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 cardstock. And again, I used the holographic cardstock from by the Recollections brand from Michaels. So here is what those look like. And I did 2 different 3x4 cut apart designs. And so we are going to go ahead and assemble the final card right now. So what I have here is, of course, my A2 size card base. I have a mat, and that is 4 inches by 5 1/4. I do have my 3x4 cut apart, and I've already layered it on top of some holographic cardstock just so it doesn't blind you as much. The cardstock is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. Okay, so I've already matted that. And then this is the extra piece. This is just a little scrap that is 4 inches wide by, I think it's like 3/4 of an inch high. Okay, but you could really use any size scrap. It's just what I had left over. And honestly, it was probably the scrap that I had like at the very top right here, because this is what would make 6 inches, 5 1/4 plus 3/4. So, but let's go ahead and assemble this. So I'm going to start by gluing down this mat to my card base. I'm going to take out my glue. So I'm going to add that to my card front, just like this, center it. Now you see how it's a lot of white space. It's like white on white almost. That's why I went ahead and I added my doodle line, but I'll come back and add that in a second. Now I do already have my layered cut aparts. This is what would go in the center, and that would basically make your finished card. But because I want to add in my scrap, I'm going to go ahead and add it down here, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. Let me add some glue. I think this is a great way to use up your scraps if you just kind of add them as additional layers on the front of your card. So we'll go ahead and add that. And be sure to stick around to the very end of the video, because I do have a little surprise for everybody at the end. Actually, 2 surprises. So here is my cut apart, my layered cut aparts. I'm going to add glue, and then I will add that to the top of my card as well. So I'm just centering it here, right here in the middle. I try to be careful not to get too much excess glue. If it does come out, I just go ahead and wipe it off. And I have one of those like magic eraser things that will let you, it's one of those erasers that will let you erase the wet glue or the glue once it's dry on your card. But that is card number 1. Now, again, I mentioned that I added doodle lines. So I'm just going to quickly add some doodle lines on mine too. And I'm using a archival ink pen. I like to use the Pigmas, but I'm going to just go ahead and add this. And I think I have a link down below if you've never heard of these pens before. I think these are some generics I had picked up, but I'll have the link down below for the originals. So I'm going to start by adding a large rectangle around the edge. Now I did go ahead and add one extra little border on the cut apart just to kind of, again, give it a little bit of extra dimension because I don't want it to kind of fade all in together. And if you don't like the doodle line style, you definitely do not have to do that. I just, like I said, I wanted to try to mix it up a little bit. On the original ones that I did, of course, I was doing card sketches for a card kit, so I did not add doodle lines to anything. Only on my, I think on my examples I may have, but here is what that finished card looks like. And again, I was able to make several of those. So I'll do a full final recap at the end, but here was card sketch number 1. Now for sketch number 2, I've got this card, and so it kind of looks like this. Okay, you've got a 3x3 cut apart, you've got a 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 mat, and I'm using again the holographic cardstock. We've got a large A2 mat that's 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and then I did have a scrap strip here. Now this was supposed to be about 2 inches, but because the Echo Park paper is just slightly larger, I went ahead and just cut it to the very top. So somewhere right here, you'll probably see like a hole, but of course it's covered, so you really can't see it at all. I did add one little doodle line around the edge and one on the cut apart, and that finished out my card. And again, I have not decorated the insides. I will wait to do that at the very end. But that was one option, okay? Now, the second option that I had was pretty much the same card sketch. You can kind of see here, they look the same. Now I did go ahead and add one extra little scrap strip right here, which I could have technically done on this one too. I just went ahead and did it on these. But what I love about this is that this is actually 2 scraps put together. And so it's very, very similar. The overall, the style is very much the same. One is using full pieces of paper and one is using nothing but scraps. So I'm going to show you how I make both of them right now. So let me go ahead and put these aside, and let's go ahead and start with the one that has the full sheet, like the full mat on it. Okay, so this is like what the sketch will call for. So on this one, I have, of course, an A2 size card base. I have an A2 size mat, and again, that's 4 inches by 5 1/4, or because it's a horizontal, it's actually 5 1/4 by 4. Okay. Now I have a scrap, and again, you can see there the little hole. That's the top part of the hang tag. And this one, it doesn't matter what height you use. Mine's probably like 2 1/4, 2 1/2, I don't know. But the width is what matters because you want it to go along the full edge, which is 5 1/4. Okay. I have one extra little scrap, and this is not going to be shown. This is so that I could put on the back of my cut apart and make it flush, so that way the recipient does not feel that there is a big gap right here, because you see how I have 2 layers on this one but only 1 layer right here. So by putting a scrap here, it basically evens the playing field there for it, so I'm able to make it flush. So that's why I brought in a little scrap. Okay, but let's go ahead and start by again gluing the large mat down to our card base. Okay, so we have that down. Now I'm going to glue the larger strip, and I'm going to add real quick some glue and then add it to the front. And I'm not going to worry about that little hole. I'm going to just leave it right in because we're going to be covering it with the cut apart. So I'm gluing it in a way that gives me just a tiny bit of color that pops at the bottom like that. You don't have to do that. You could do it all the way at the bottom and it would look like our other card, but that is kind of how I'm gluing this one today. Okay. Now, before I put my cut apart on here, again, I've already layered it to kind of save you some glare, but otherwise I layered my cut apart on top of my cut apart mat. I'm going to add it right there to the center, but because I see, and if you were here, you would be able to feel it. There's a little bit of a dip here because this is 2 layers of paper, whereas this is 1. So I can feel the dip. I'm going to go ahead and add my scrap right there behind to make it flush. So I'm going to just flip it around and I'm going to add it here to the top. So let me just, and again, this was a scrap. You can see the little hang tag hole. I'm going to go ahead and just add some glue and add this to the top. Just like that. And now when I glue this down, now it'll be flush. And I make sure that my scrap is not like taller than the width that I want to have showing right here. So that's perfect. So let me add some glue. Just like that. And now it's flush. You cannot feel that there is a difference in like layers of paper there. So the last step that I did on this card was I also added some doodle lines with an archival ink pen. And so I'm going to just do one large doodle all the way around. I'm not going to worry too much that I've got multiple layers here. This is just to kind of break up some of that solid pattern. And if you notice, this was some of the solid prints or the solid papers that came in the mega pad. I usually will try to use them to like layer, or like this, use it for backgrounds. And that's what I did here. So I do like that these little mega pads do come with the solids, because it's hard sometimes to find coordinating pieces of paper that match, like color cardstock. So I'm going to add one little also doodle around the edge here of our cut apart. Okay, and here is our finished card. So here's a side by side of what that looks like. So this is option number 1, and again, using the full mats. Let me go ahead and show you now how to do basically the same card. We're gonna elevate it a little bit with a little bit of an extra scrap here, but then also using 2 scraps. So I've got my layered cut apart. I've got 2 scraps of paper, and it really doesn't matter how big they are, as long as, again, they're 5 1/4 inch wide. And as long as when you overlap them, you'll get at least 4 inches. Okay, so even though you see one's a little bit larger than the other, you can kind of see if I put them side by side, like at an angle there, you can see one is a little bit bigger than the other. That's perfectly fine. I do have this little scrap, and you can see the little hang tag there. Again, having the hole in the middle doesn't matter, because we're going to be covering it up with the cut apart, so we can definitely still use that. And then again, I had one little extra scrap that I'm going to be adding to the top of my cut apart just to make everything flush. So let's go ahead and start gluing these. Now I want to have the 2 holes in the middle, okay? So that way when I do layer them, and I can cover them up with my cut apart. And I do want this red to show at the top, because I want these little stockings to be upright. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start by gluing down the red one first, okay? So let me go ahead and glue down this red background. Now, when I glue it, I am going to keep in mind that I want a 1/8 border all the way around, okay? So that's why it really doesn't matter too much how large your scraps are this way, or like how tall, because we're going to overlap them, but I want to do it at 4 inches. So that way I have a even border all the way around. So now I'm going to add glue to the back of my little stockings. And this was one that had like some cut aparts. So I did utilize the cut aparts, but I saved and I used the stockings, which was on the back of the cut apart sheet. They came in this little pad. Because I figured the stockings would be easier to use than those like little circle squares. So I'm going to add this down very carefully. Again, keeping in mind that I want a 1/8 border, and of course aligning my 2 page ends. So one thing I did do off camera was when I was cutting down my paper, I did make sure that these papers did align, especially since I wasn't going to be able to add anything, you know, and be able to trim off what I didn't need. So I went ahead and just made sure that's what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and add my little strip. So I'm going to just double check it in case I need to trim off anything. Nope, looks good. So, and again, it doesn't matter that it has a hole here. We're using our scraps. We're going to be able to add decorative elements with these scraps without even having to worry about those holes, because we're going to be covering them up. So I am going to add it to the stocking layer, and I'm going to just kind of make sure that it's even and I don't have any excess glue. And here's what it looks like. So again, I have my holes here, but that's not a problem because we're going to cover it up like that. I definitely have a bit of a dip here, so I'm definitely going to add that scrap to the top part of my cut apart. So let me add this real quick. Now I'm going to flip it with this hole kind of on the inside since it's right there next to the edge. Okay. So we've got our cut apart. Now everything should be a little bit more flush. Let's go ahead and add glue and we'll add it to our card. So I'm going to press down on the edges and of course on the top part of the cut apart. And I can feel that it's super flush, so which is perfect. I don't have, you can't, it's not super obvious that I've got multiple layers there, even though of course you can see them. But that is our card. Now, just like the others, I'm going to add a little bit of doodle lines. So on this one, I also kept it simple. I'm going to just do a large doodle all the way around the edges. And then I'm going to go ahead and do one doodle on the cut apart edge. Okay, there's our finished card. I had a little bit of an oopsie right here where I came off. Not a big deal. I'm not too concerned with it because this is supposed to be sort of whimsical. I could always take a little bit of a white pen and kind of mark that out, but otherwise I'm fine with it. So here is what our finished card looks like, and here was the side-by-side comparison. So here were the two cards that are very similar but with different styles. One using scraps, one using the full sketch, but just in case you want to do some alternatives or deviations from that card sketch, you've got that option as well. So there's another few cards. That was card number 2. Okay, so for card sketch number 3, which is technically card number 4, we are going to be making this one. This one has 2 little banners. These are 5 inches by 3/4 of an inch. I used a large mat, which is 4 inches tall, 5 1/4 wide. And then because on my sketch, I called for a scalloped circle with a sentiment. But because this little mega pad had these little cut aparts, and I think these are like 1.5 by 3, I went ahead and just layered them up with some cardstock, and I added them on the front as a focal image. You could also use like a 3 by 3, which would be a little bit taller. Okay, you could put that on the front. You could definitely just put in a sentiment. The sticker sheet has a ton of different shaped sentiments. You could always add that to the front. You could layer it on some cardstock, trim around it, and then add it to the front. So many options. But this is what card sketch number 3 looks like, and I've got, again, a couple different variations here. So what we'll do is, let me show you what I have here. Oh, here was one more. Okay, so we've got a card base, an A2 size card base. I've got my mat, and I have already done the doodle line on this one, just because I wanted to see if it was going to stand out. So I do have that. I, of course, have my cut apart plus a little mat, okay, and I just went 1/4 inch wider than my mat, than my cut apart. I've got my 2 strips here, and these are 5 inches wide by 3/4 of an inch tall, okay, so I've got 2 of them. And I have not cut the little edges. I'm going to go ahead and banner them in just a second, or fishtail them. I also have a couple of scraps that, you guessed it, we're going to use it to make it flush, okay? So I'm going to first start out real quick by fishtailing these banners, and that way I have that part done. So I'm just bringing in some scissors. Now, there's a ton of ways you could do this. If you have a punch that does a fishtail, you could stick it in and punch it. I'm going to go ahead and just manually cut them because I just have one set to do. So I'm going to cut it about 1/4 of an inch up right in the middle, okay? And then I'm going to take it from the edges, or the 2 tips, the edge, to where I finished that cut. You see that? That's the first half of our fishtail. Now I'm going to just take it from the other end, okay, the other side, and also cut up. And here is our fishtail. So again, to repeat it, you cut it about 1/4 of an inch up, and you could really do these fishtails any size you want. I'm doing about 1/4 of an inch. You're going to cut up from one end, and then you're going to cut up from the other end. So that cut in the middle sort of is your guide of how wide to cut or how far to cut up. Because if you just try to cut it this way, you might end up with some wonky fishtails, which is perfectly fine if that's what you're going for. But I want to try to make these a little more even. And so that's why I start with the middle cut and then come up from the 2 sides. Just like that. Okay, let me finish the last one. Just like that. Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and assemble the card now that I have my little banners done. So I'm going to start by adding my large mat to the front of my card base. Okay, so I've added that. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my 2 banners. Now you could really put these anywhere. If you wanted to do this centered, you could always do it in the center and do something like that. If you wanted them at the top, you could do something like that. You could even do something like this, put an image and then put a sentiment down here, or vice versa. You could do like this, put a sentiment and then do an image coming out of the top. You've got lots of options. Now on the sketch, I put them closer to the bottom, and that's what I'm going to do for today's card. So I'm going to start with 1. and just sort of glue it sort of right in the center, but towards the bottom. So I try to even it out on both ends right here. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and take the second one and do the same thing. I'm going to come up about 1/4 of an inch from the other one. But again, this is one of those things you can pretty much do it any which way you want. Now I am going to go ahead and add my cut apart here. And I want a little bit of this bottom banner to show, just some of that green. So I am going to just add my scraps to the top segment up here at the top of the cut apart, coupled. So it's coupled with the mat. But again, you would go ahead and glue that mat first. I just did it to save your eyes because the holographic paper is very shiny. And again, I got it from Michael's, if you're familiar. Somebody had asked me about that. I did get it from Michael's, and I bought it in bulk. So I paid about $2 something per pack. And each pack comes with, I think, 25 sheets, if I'm not mistaken. But I bought like 12 of them because I got it for like $20 some, and it was way cheaper to do that than, because I go through a ton of this paper, this cardstock. This is one of my favorites. So, and then I'm going to go ahead and glue it down. It was just cheaper to do it in bulk than to do it like 1 pack at a time and pay like $5 a pack. It seemed, you know, more bang for the buck that way. Because I'm very much a frugal crafter. You will see on my channel, I do sometimes show like budget and savings videos, just to kind of bring you along with that part of the journey. But I'm very much a frugal crafter. Okay, we're going to add this to the front of our card, sort of center it. And again, if you wanted to add extra embellishments or decorations, you absolutely could. Now, because I've already done the main doodle line on the mat, all I have to do is do the doodle lines on the 2 banners. So for this, I just kept it super simple, and I didn't even worry about doing the doodles ahead of time. I'm just literally going to add them straight to my card. The thing about doing like a wonky doodle is it does not have to be perfect, which is what I absolutely love. I love being able to just kind of let it, you know, go free, be wild with the, you know, with the actual decor part of it. Super fun. And it's so relaxing to just take out your pen and start doodling. Now this one is an archival ink pen, waterproof pen. So that way it won't smudge and it won't, you know, fade over time and things like that. So that is what our card looks like. So I did have several of those as well, because again, I had several of these little cut aparts. So here's kind of what those look like. I think they turned out super fun. And it is a nice little mix or spin on the original sketch, which was sketch number 3. So that's sketch number 3. Now the last sketch that I had in that card set was sketch number 4, and you've seen this probably on my channel multiple times. It's an A2 size gatefold gift card holder. This is one of my absolute favorite right now. I go through this phase where I kind of like making a certain type of card, and I'll make a bazillion of them, which I've made probably a bazillion of them in the last couple months. But, and I've even done different sizes, and I will do a tutorial coming up probably in December. I didn't get a chance to do it in November, but I'll do one in December for the 5x7 version of this card, because this is an A2 size card. So we've got our cut apart, a 3x4. We've got our mat, 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. I do have my pattern paper. I did add doodle lines just to kind of make it fun. When I open it, I created this little snow globe as a writing space. And so I did go ahead and also do some doodle lines on the inside, but here's what I had. Now I did have a few of these solid cardstock sheets left over from the mega pad. So that's what I did for here. I went ahead and added those first as my backgrounds. Now, one of the freebies, I mentioned there were going to be freebies in this video. So one of the freebies that I'm giving away is I am giving this set of snow globes so you can fussy cut it out. It's already sized perfectly that if you print the sheet at 100%, you should be able to get 4 of these snow globes that will fit perfectly inside of your A2 size card. So I have that for free over in my Ko-fi shop. I'll have that link down in the description box below. You can click on it. I think it gives you the option to give like a donation or something, but you can absolutely get it for free. So feel free to do that and use it for some of your Christmas and winter cards. So we're going to use that today. Now I need to put that little insert here. I have that as well available. I'll make sure to insert it before I do my final recap in just a few. But here is the card that we're doing. And again, I have several of these. And you've probably seen that a bunch on my channel, so I won't worry too much about showing you all of those. Plus I'll do a full recap at the end. So we have our card base. Our card base is 5.5 by 8.5, and it is scored at 2 1/8 on both sides. So you score it one time, you flip it, 2 1/8, both sides. And I do have full tutorials on like the paper and cutting it down. Right now I'm gonna just go ahead and show you how we're gonna assemble it. I've got a large mat, and this is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and this is gonna go right there on the inside. And then I've got 4 of these 2 inch by 5 1/4 panels. These go on the insides and on the outsides of your gatefold flaps. Okay, and then I also have 1 extra little scrap, and this is 1.5 by 4. That's gonna go behind your cut apart once we glue it down to kind of decorate that little pocket. Then we've got our cut apart, and it's a 3 by 4 cut apart with a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 mat, and I have already matted that up as well. And then of course I have my fun little snow globe that we're gonna finish it off with. Now I will come back and again add stickers to all of these cards and show you it before I do that final recap. But in the meantime, let's assemble the basics of this card. So I always like to start with this first mat that goes right here on the inside. So let me go ahead and glue this down first. Okay, now I can technically go ahead and glue down my snow globe. So again, make sure you pick this up for free over in my Ko-fi shop if you want it. I've already sized it down to where if you print it at 100%, you will be able to get the 4 of them from the one sheet, and they should fit perfectly. Now, if your printer prints a little bit wonky, it gets too close to the edge, you could always scale it down to like 97, 98%, 99, something like that. But I did try to leave a little bit of border on the edges. So in case you have a printer that doesn't print full sheet, you'll still be able to print it at 100% and not have anything to worry about. So here's what the inside looks like. And I did it in a way where you'd be able to do like a quick little message or just a Merry Christmas, you know, winter wishes, whatever you want to do right here. And you'd still have a place down here to sign it. So I left all of this blank here on the front, on like the front of the snow or the bottom of the snow globe. So that's that part. Now, the next step is I'm going to figure out my 2-inch mats. So I need 2 for the front. Okay, and I need 2 for the inside. Now here is my cut apart. So I want to make sure that I have something that works really well with this on the front, okay, because it's going to go like this. So because there's like little tree, I think I want to do the snow globe. So that's definitely going to be 1. And then because I have red on the inside, I think I'm going to go ahead and use this red for the front. So I think I'm going to do something like this, just like that. So that'll be for the front, okay. Now for the inside, I've got these 2 patterns. So I kind of really like this red. I think I'm going to go ahead and do it like this. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it just like this. So let me go ahead and glue it down. Now, I've mentioned this in my other tutorials. When you're gluing on the inside, I like to try to glue it as close to, but right outside of that score line just to even out my borders. So let me glue this real quick though. So you don't go on top of the score, but you're gonna go very close to it, right? But right outside of it, okay? So that's that. Now let's go ahead and glue this other side. And I'm a sucker for a good plaid, and this one's a really pretty plaid. So just like that, that's what our card's gonna look like so far. Now we glue the 2 front panels. Now with the front panels, this is a little different. I like to go all the way to the edge, and that way my 2 mats, when I glue them, are almost touching here, and I don't have like a gap in between, okay? So I'd rather have them touching, and I feel like it makes it look more cohesive here on the front, like more continuous as well. So let me go ahead and glue this. And I'll glue the final panel as well. Just like that. So I center them, but again, put it all the way to the 2 edges. Now for our cut apart and mat, you're gonna glue your cut apart to the actual mat, okay? I've already done that off camera to save you some glare, but once you have that pairing, you're basically gonna center it on the front of your card, okay? And then I'm gonna go ahead and put my index and I think my thumb or my 2 fingers here, I'm going to put them on the edges and I'm going to glue around that. Now you are okay to go ahead and put quite a bit of glue, a generous amount on both sides. You don't have to just put one little strip because your gift card should still fit. And then you're going to go ahead and do it the side panel as well, which is the side that's facing towards you. Okay, so like this. So it's this corner over here and then the top and the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and put it back down on my card very carefully. Again, trying to center it as best as I can. And before I press too much right here in the middle, I like to just double check it. Everything looks good there. I don't have any glue seeping out. So now I can close it again. And then I can do a good press to just make sure that I get any glue that's in there, sort of just make sure that it's controlled. Now for the final step, I have this one little scrap and that's gonna go right here just to decorate this pocket so that way it doesn't sort of stick out like a sore thumb because it doesn't have any paper at all. This is totally optional, but you certainly can do it. Oh, so I have the green option too. Let's see. Do we want the green or do we want the blue? Green or blue? I kind of like the blue because it pulls in some of the Eeyore over here. Let's go ahead and do the blue. And some of you may have been screaming green, 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 but I am recording this so I can't hear you right now. So we're gonna have to just go with what I chose, unfortunately. It'd be fun if this was during a live and then you could pick and choose all the things as I went crafting. Okay, so that is our card, A2 size gatefold card. You could definitely call it quits right there, which I did on many of my other cards. But because I want to go ahead and do some doodle lines, I'm going to go ahead and take out my archival ink pen one more time, and we're going to go ahead and add some doodles. Now, I am going to do a doodle on the edge of this cut apart. Then I'm going to do one on the entire border of my pattern paper. And I'm not going to worry about that I'm switching from one pattern to the other. I'm going to just do it like if it was a continuous piece of paper. Okay, so that's how it'll look right there. Okay, super cute. Then on the inside, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add doodle lines to all of the panels, starting with this smaller one. And then just working my way down to all of them. Okay, so here's what this looks like. I think it turned out super cute, super fun. Again, you could put in that little placeholder here showing that it's a gift card. I'll do that before I do the final recap. But that was sketch number 4 from my card sketches. Okay, so let me go ahead and kind of put all of the final ones in frame here. You can kind of see them. I think they turned out super cute. I will do a full final recap. I'm going to go ahead and try to finish making the project with these little 2x2s. And then I'm also going to go ahead and try to use up as many of these scraps as I can. But then we will go ahead and call it a smash done for the month of November. So be sure to stick around because we'll do a full final recap in just a second. Here we go. Okay, so it's time for the recap. I have already smashed this entire paper pad. This is the Winnie the Pooh Christmas. It's the mega pad from Echo Park. 48 double-sided sheets is basically like 2 regular 6x6 paper pads. Here were all of the actual paper scraps that I had left. So a little bit of the solid and then a few little itty bitty scraps. I feel like this was a pretty successful smash just based on that alone. Now, I did have some of these sentiments in this pad. You had 3 sheets of sentiments and I went ahead and cut them down because the back was sort of like a faded maroon color. And I thought, well, I think I'd rather probably use those sentiments. I think those are super cute. So I cut them down. I didn't get a chance to use them in this project, but I thought that maybe I would pair it with some of what comes in the 12x12 later. I did not touch the 12x12. I did use a little bit of one sticker sheet, but I still have a whole second sticker sheet completely brand new. So for December, I'm likely going to end up putting this leftover bits with that, and I might try to smash a little bit more from the actual 12 by 12 for paper stash smash. So let me show you what I made, including the final project that I did, and I will give you a hint as to the second freebie that I had alluded to earlier. But let's go ahead and look at what I made with this paper pad. So of course we had the 4 sketches that I had kind of walked you through just now. So here is sketch number 1. We were able to get 6 of these. I have 2 different patterns. I think these turned out super cute. I did go back and I added some scraps to the inside, and that's kind of how I was able to get this down to very little scraps. So each one just has a random bit of scraps. So again, we have 2 different designs. I thought these turned out super cute, and this is super fun, and you can easily add that little additional scrap strip at the bottom to make this, you know, to elevate even the super easy sketch number 1 that I had. So here are those cards. Now, then you saw for sketch number 2, I went ahead and I created 2 different versions. So we were able to do one that was true to the sketch with the full pieces of paper, okay? And I did go in and I added some little scraps on these as well. Some of them just had like little banners, but I was able to make several of these. And again, this is sketch number 2. The other option I had was the one where we paper pieced together scraps, and I was able to make the second card as well. So these are essentially a very similar card, very similar layout or sketch, but slightly different, and they use different resources. So here are the ones that had the full sheet. So I usually got like 3 of each set. So you'll see there, like there's 3 of each of these different combinations. And then this one had a different solid color on the background. So, and different cut aparts as well. So super, super fun. That was part of sketch number 2. Then we had 3 scrap cards that we made following a very similar version of that sketch. And again, these have some scraps on the inside as well. So here are those 3. Perfect. And those are sketch number 2. Okay, so 2 iterations of sketch number 2. Then for sketch number 3, we brought out the little banners. Now, the normal sketch calls for that scallop circle, but I went ahead and just used what I had from this paper pad. The paper pad had these little like mini cut aparts. So I went ahead and used those. Again, scraps on the inside. And I did different varieties of scraps depending on what I had. Some of them had little banners, some of them had strips at the bottom, some of them had strips on the side. I just kind of made whatever I could. Used whatever I could as far as from my scraps. Now the sketch number 4, so that was sketch number 3. Sketch number 4 is of course the A2 size gift card holder. So we've got, it opens up like this. It's a gatefold, and then you've got your place for your gift card, your panels. I added stickers. I have this super cute snow globe, which that was freebie number 1 that I mentioned over in my Ko-fi shop. Be sure to check it out. You can pick that up. I've got some stickers here as well. I did go back and add doodle lines to the edges, and I also added doodle lines to the fronts as well. So let me just quickly show you those because each one is just slightly different. So I think these turned out super cute. I was able to use up about half of the sticker sheet, I think. There's a ton of sentiments left on the sticker sheet, which that's the reason why I picked it up. I was not able to dip into the stamps yet, but I'm hopeful that I will be able to dip into them when I dip into the 12 by 12 pack. So I'm thinking of maybe doing like some journals or something. Now I did have a few larger scraps, and so I made one final scrap card. Here's what it turned out, or here's how it turned out. 1 sticker here, a couple stickers here, 2 scraps there. I used one of these, all of these little sentiments here. I was able to use one of them. I layered it with some holographic cardstock, and I did choose to do holographic for all of these because I thought it just made it super like whimsical, and I thought Winnie the Pooh is very whimsical, so I thought that was perfect. Added the doodle lines, added some doodle dashes right there. I thought that was super fun, and I do have a scrap on the inside. So those were my cards. Okay, so I ended up with a ton of different cards. Now I did also go back and I made some little Christmas tags. Okay, so I did a bonus video for my members, and it probably just aired right before this one, but where I show how I kind of put those cards together. And so let me kind of walk you through the project itself. So this is a 3x3 Christmas tag. I am using a 2x2 cut apart, a 2 1/4 by 2 1/4 mat, and I did choose holographic cardstock. Then on my card base, it's actually a 3x6, okay, so 3 inches by 6 inches, and it's scored or folded right on the 1/2 inch, or right on the 3-inch mark on the 6-inch side. So it's folded in half, basically. You fold it in half. Now on the inside, I did go in and I added one of my To From labels. These are some freebies also in my Ko-fi shop. So you're actually getting access to 3 freebies in this video. But this is the second of the freebies. This was already in my shop. I had used this for the gift card ornaments a long time ago. And so I added that in, added some scraps, whatever scraps I had. I did punch a hole and then I added some twine. I used about 12 inches of twine for this. So here is what those tags look like. And this was a fantastic scrap buster. I was able to get through a ton of scraps with this one. So I've got 3 of each of the sets. So let me kind of just show you one of each of the 3s. So we've got this one right here with the whole gang there. Then we've got this one with the little sled and the tree. And then we've got this one with the snow globe. Super cute. That was what inspired me to pull in that snow globe. And then we've got this one with the Christmas tree close up. And I did do one of each of the color of the card bases. I thought that was super fun. And then also I did it with this one also as well with this sentiment, one of each of the colors. We've got Mr. Pooh Bear here. And then we've got a Christmas sentiment here that I put on red. And then we've got the whole gang one last time. So those were the tags. I made 27 tags and I believe I made, I think it was 31 cards. I think it was a total of 58 items if I'm not mistaken. But a ton of different items from one mega pad. Now, for your third freebie, I guess, actually, the other freebie that I was going to include was I'm actually going to give you the entire set of sketches. So if you go over to my Ko-fi shop, you'll be able to pick up all 4 of those sketches that we did in this video. They're the ones that I used for my custom card kits. And so I had just kind of designed the 4 little sketches, put them down on paper, and then I created some custom card kits for it. I have a previous video. I'll link it at the end if you have not seen that yet. But I went ahead and I made it as a freebie for y'all, as a little Thanksgiving and Christmas kind of thank you, holiday thank you. So you can check that out. It's over in my Ko-fi shop. I'll have that link down in the description box below. You can click it. You can get it for absolutely free. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you're able to make several cards with those little sketches. Maybe make some card kits. Maybe make a little advent calendar card kit for yourself. I think that would be super fun. But I hope you enjoyed all the different process and, you know, as well as the projects that I made with this Winnie the Pooh Christmas 6x6 mega pad, 48 double-sided sheets by Echo Park. I am planning on continuing this collection in December, I believe. And so, because I still have the 12x12. So hopefully there'll be even more Winnie the Pooh Christmas items that I make in the next couple of weeks that you'll also be able to check out here on my channel. Well, thank you so much to everybody who is watching, who made it to the end. Thank you. And I hope you got a little bit of inspiration and enjoyed this video. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. It goes a long way. Please like the video, share it if you'd like. I really appreciate it. A big thank you to everybody. And as always, happy crafting.
Thanks for visiting, everyone. Let me know in the comments down below which was your favorite sketch or project from this Smash video. Happy crafting.